Stars glittered like shattered glass in the dark. They looked peaceful. But peace was the last thing Admiral Zareth felt as he stared at the edge of known space. His ship, the Celestial Ruler, hung silently near the outer gate, a place most believed was empty, cold, and useless. The maps called it Dead Zone Theta. No habitable planets. No resources. No signs of life. Just a quiet place forgotten by time. But something had changed. 3 days ago, a science vessel named Rendari Hope was sent to scan strange gravity waves near a collapsed star. It never came back. No wreckage. No emergency beacon. Nothing. Only one message made it through before everything went silent. Just one word. Awakening. No one knew what it meant. Zareth had come to find out. Status? He asked, his voice calm but tight. His second-in-command, a silver-skinned officer named Selen, checked her glowing console. Still no signal from the Hope. But we're picking up low-frequency pulses from inside the collapsed star's corona. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Coordinates. She nodded. Marking now. The main screen flickered, showing the swirling mess of the neutron star's edge. There, just behind the burning gases, a shape. Faint. Massive. Definitely not natural. Zareth narrowed his eyes. Magnify. The image zoomed in. What they saw made the bridge go completely still. It was a structure. Not a ship, not a station, something else entirely. A dark shape, covered in angular towers and rotating rings. Its surface shimmered, reflecting no light. It looked like it was part of the star itself, hidden in the radiation until now. Selen whispered, "That thing. It's inside the star." "Inside," Zareth said, turning to her. "How?" "I don't know. But it's stable. It's alive." The moment she said it, the lights on the bridge flickered. The ship system stuttered for half a second, and then everything came back online. "Report," Zareth snapped. "No damage," the engineer said. "But something scanned us." A ripple passed through the ship. Not physical, more like a feeling. A low hum deep in the bones. The lights dimmed again. Then the main view screen changed. It wasn't a sensor reading or a system glitch. It was a message. Plain galactic standard, written in clear white letters. Terran Forge Protocol. Eyes open. No one moved. "No translation error?" Zareth asked. Selen shook her head slowly. "No, sir. It's perfect standard. Someone, or something, sent that message." Zareth clenched his jaw. "Terran. That's not a word in our database." "Could be a name," said the xenolinguist. "Or a warning." Before anyone could speak again, the structure inside the star began to shift. Rings rotated. Spikes retracted. What once looked like part of the star was now clearly a machine waking up. "Power surge," the engineer shouted. "Something's coming online. Energy output is rising. It's massive." "Back us off," Zareth ordered. "Get us clear of the gravity well."
Engines responding, "Wait, no." Every screen on the bridge went black. Then, a second message appeared. "You have been observed. Depart. Or be unmade." Zareth stood frozen. The bridge crew looked to him for answers, but he had none. In 3,000 years of galactic dominance, nothing like this had ever happened. The hegemony had faced rebellions, rogue AI, energy storms, even black hole weapons. But this, a hidden force that lived in a star, that spoke their language. He didn't know what Terran meant, but he had a feeling he was about to find out. Then, just as quickly as it started, the lights returned. Screens flickered back to life. The Celestial Ruler's systems rebooted. Navigation returned. Weapons were back online. Everything was normal. Too normal. Was that real? Selen asked in a low voice. Zareth didn't answer. Instead, he turned to his helmsman. "Set a course for Hegemony Command. We leave now." "What about the structure?" "We don't provoke what we don't understand," he said, his voice quiet but firm. We report. Let the High Council decide what to do. As the ship turned away, the crew watched the strange structure fade into the star's glow once more, like it had never been there. But it had. Something ancient had awakened. Something powerful. Something that had waited in silence for a very long time. And now, it was watching. Humanity was no longer hiding. And the galaxy would never be the same. The celestial ruler jumped to light speed and vanished from the edge of the dead zone. But long after it was gone, the thing in the star kept moving. Slowly. Quietly. Like it was stretching after a long sleep. At the Hegemony's Central Command on Andari Prime, the news caused chaos. Admiral Zaratha's report was short and sharp: an unknown structure hidden inside a dead star, system-wide interference, and 2 clear messages in perfect galactic standard. Then silence. No weapons fired, no battle, but the dreadnought had retreated at full speed. The Council didn't like unknowns. For 3,000 years, they had ruled the galaxy through knowledge and power. There was no mystery left. No threats. Just order. Now, this. I want that structure classified immediately, snapped Councillor Dresk, his skin flickering with stress color. Is it a weapon? A trap? A hidden empire? We don't know, replied Commander Hero, head of Deep Space Intelligence. But the term Terran showed up once in our oldest recovered data. A minor footnote. From a dead language. It was listed as a pre-collapse species, no known location, no surviving worlds. Meaning? Hero swallowed. Meaning, this might not be new. It might be old. Older than us. Much older. The room fell silent. Outside the council chambers, encrypted channels buzzed. Dozens of Hegemony ships were rerouted toward Dead Zone Theta. Special research vessels, stealth scouts, AI drones. All sent quietly, to avoid drawing attention. But they weren't quiet enough. In deep space, someone was listening. Inside the forge, the giant machine hiding in the star, humans were watching everything. The forge wasn't a single ship. It was a living factory, a fortress, a home. It had no windows. No decks in the usual sense. Just layers of hardened tunnels, manufacturing cores, power systems, and data centers. And deep within it, humanity's last colony lived. Commander Elise Chen stood inside one of the command rings, staring at the data feeds. A tall, calm woman with gray in her hair and iron in her voice. Around her, a dozen officers worked quietly. The Hegemony is responding faster than expected, said Lieutenant Ramos. 26 ships inbound. All military. Any diplomatic messages? No. They're coming in armed. Chan didn't look surprised. That's how they always come. For nearly 100 years, humanity had been hiding. After Earth fell to an alien alliance, long before the Hegemony existed, the last survivors had fled. No one had believed they'd make it. But humans were stubborn. They survived in places no one else would go. They'd learned to build inside radiation zones. Around neutron stars. On frozen moons and toxic gas giants. Places so dangerous, no one bothered to look for them. And while the galaxy forgot them, they built. The forge was the result, part human invention, part scavenged alien tech. It had no single inventor, no precedent, no ruler. Just engineers, scientists, and soldiers, working together. They had never intended to reveal themselves. Until now. Bring the AI core online, Chen ordered. We need a threat profile. A soft hum filled the air. Then a smooth voice spoke. Threat profile loaded. Hegemony fleet shows 85% likelihood of hostile action. Probability of first strike, 92%. Any diplomatic chance? Minimal. The Hegemony operates on dominance. Unknown power is seen as threat. They will test us. Chen nodded slowly. Then they'll get an answer. Back on one of the approaching hegemony ships, a scout vessel called Silent Judgment, the crew watched the star on their screens. "It's just a star," the captain muttered. "No heat anomaly, no movement, no radiation spike." His second-in-command frowned. "Then where are these signals coming from?" Suddenly, alarm screamed. "Gravimetric spike," shouted the sensor officer. "It's pulling something into real space, above the star's pole." On the main screen, a black shape began to emerge. Slowly, piece by piece, like a shadow falling out of the void. It wasn't glowing. It wasn't firing weapons. It just appeared. It was huge. A triangle-shaped vessel with no seams, no markings, and no visible engines. It hovered silently over the star like a giant blade. The comms officer's face went pale. "We're receiving a message." "Play it." The bridge fell silent as a calm human voice echoed through the ship. "You have entered protected Terran territory. This is your first and only warning. We do not seek war. But we will not run. Turn back." The hegemony captain stared at the screen. "They're bluffing." But no one moved. "They're primitives," the captain growled. "Metal ships. No energy weapons. No crystal tech. This is a show. Nothing more." "Sir, the readings say otherwise." "I said advance." The ship moved forward. Inside the forge, Chen gave a single nod. A tiny drone, no bigger than a chair, detached from the surface of the black triangle ship. It zipped through space like a bullet, silent, invisible to standard sensors. It hit the Silent Judgment right in the engine core. There was no explosion. Just that silence. The ship froze, locked in time. Every system dead. Every light out. Then, piece by piece, it began to drift. Slowly breaking apart under its own weight.
Far from the chaos near the star, the Hegemony High Council met again. This time, the room was quiet. The crystal dome above them shimmered in pale blue light, but none of the usual pride showed on their faces. They had reviewed the sensor footage. The Silent Judgment had vanished in seconds. Not from a weapon blast, but something else. Something that didn't fit any known category of attack. "It wasn't energy," said Counselor Jorek, his voice low. "It wasn't kinetic. It was some kind of spatial disruption. Like the ship was pulled apart at the atomic level." "No species we know can do that," said another counselor. "That's the problem," replied Supreme Counselor Elrian. "We don't know this species. We assumed they were primitives. That assumption may cost us everything." For the first time in centuries, the hegemony hesitated. Back at the edge of the dead zone, the forge remained still. No movement, no message. Just the silent presence of a massive, black ship watching from above the neutron star. But deep inside the forge, it was anything but still. Commander Chun walked through one of the control corridors. It was alive with activity. Engineers tuned field generators. Tech teams calibrated weapons that hadn't been tested in centuries. Young recruits trained in zero-G chambers. Everyone moved with purpose. They had prepared for this day. "Commander," said Lieutenant Ramos, catching up to her. "Reports confirm the hegemony has paused all civilian traffic near Dead Zone Theta. Military ships only." "That means they're scared," Chen replied. "They should be." Ramos hesitated. "Are we really ready for this?" Chun stopped walking. She looked out through a viewplate into one of the shipyards where drones worked like bees on a new vessel. A long, jagged ship with no windows and heavy plating. "We've had 100 years," she said. "We learned to build under crushing gravity. We cracked fusion where others gave up. We made our hulls from asteroid bones and star-kissed alloys. We don't need to be ready. We are ready." A nearby screen lit up. Another signal from outside. Another scan from the hegemony. "Persistent," she said. "They won't stop." Ramos nodded. "Want me to send another warning?" Chen thought for a moment, then shook her head. "No more warnings. Let them come. They need to see it now. In hegemony space, Admiral Threx stood aboard the flagship Crown of Law. A tall, proud figure in gold armor, he was the kind of officer raised on conquest and tradition. He didn't believe in fear. "Fleet ready, sir," said his bridge officer. "All ships awaiting orders." "Then we advance," Threx said. "I will not be made to cower by rumors and shadows." Their fleet, 20 ships strong, began to move. At the edge of the star, the Forge responded. A single human ship detached from the main structure. Smaller than the Triangle vessel, but still larger than any hegemony destroyer. It was long and dark, like a harpoon in the void. It didn't cloak. It didn't hide. It simply moved forward, straight toward the fleet. Admiral Threx scoffed. "They send one ship? Against 20? Arrogant fools. Should we fire, sir? Let them come closer. Let's see the color of their ship before we erase them." The human ship kept coming. Silent, unshaking. Then it stopped. At that moment, the stars behind it seemed to ripple. Faint like heat over a road. But wrong. Wrong in a way even the hegemony sensors couldn't explain. "What are we seeing?" Threx asked. His science officer swallowed hard. "Sir, I think that's space distortion. Gravitational warping. It's not a cloak. It's a fold. They're bending space." "Impossible," Threx said. But it wasn't. The human ship sent out a pulse, one soft wave of invisible force. Every hegemony ship felt it. Shields flickered. Engines stuttered. Weapons dimmed. For 3 full seconds, the entire fleet was blind. And that's when the human ship attacked. It didn't fire lasers or beams. Instead, dozens of rods shot out metal darts, simple in design but wrapped in magnetic fields. Each one targeted a critical system. Engines, reactor cores, life support hubs. One by one, the hegemony ships were disabled. Not destroyed, disabled. Not a single crew member died. But every ship was left powerless, drifting. Admiral Threx stood frozen. They let us live? A message blinked on the main screen. "This was a demonstration. We could have ended you. We chose not to. Learn the difference." Silence fell across the bridge. In that moment, for the first time, Threx believed. These weren't primitives. These weren't rebels. These were survivors. Smart, patient, dangerous. And now they had decided to be seen. Admiral Threx sat in silence. His entire fleet, 20 powerful warships, now floated helpless in space. Engines shut down. Weapons offline. Shields broken. No explosions, no casualties, just quiet defeat. He had never seen anything like it. The human ship hadn't roared in with power. It hadn't shouted demands or fired grand weapons. It had simply acted with precision, with control, and with one terrifying truth behind it. They didn't need to destroy anyone to win. Back in hegemony space, the news spread fast. Military channels, political circles, underground networks, everyone heard the same thing. A Terran vessel had faced a full hegemony fleet, and it won without firing a single fatal shot. The High Council was furious. "They mock us," shouted Councillor Dresk. "They're showing mercy not from kindness, but because they think we are beneath them. They are trying to scare us," another councillor added. "We must respond with force." Supreme Councillor Elrian stayed quiet. He studied the footage again, eyes locked on the moment when every ship's lights dimmed, the moment everything went still. "They're not mocking us," he said finally. "They're warning us." That only made the room angrier. So, the hegemony responded the only way it knew how. They sent more ships. This time, not just a fleet. They sent the Judgment Spear, one of the hegemony's most feared dreadnoughts. It had never lost a battle in 100 years. Its captain, Commander Veeler, was known for ending wars in a day. The plan was simple. Push into the edge of Terran territory and demand surrender. If they refused, erase them. The Judgment Spear dropped out of hyperspace 2 days later, its hull glowing with power, engines pulsing like the heartbeat of a god. No other ships joined it. Just one. That was the message. One was enough. Inside the ship, Veeler stood tall on the command platform. "Target is ahead," his officer reported. reading only one Terran vessel on sensors, smaller than our own. No escort. Wheeler narrowed his eyes. Do they not learn? The human ship appeared on the main screen. It was strange. Made of dark alloy, sharp edges, and no visible lights. It looked old but solid, like a blade forgotten in the dirt for centuries. Still sharp. Broadcast our demand, Wheeler said. The message went out. You are ordered to surrender. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. A long pause. Then the reply. A woman's voice. Calm. Precise. You are trespassing. Turn back. Final warning. Wheeler clenched his fist. So be it. Charge main weapon. The judgment spear prepared to fire. Inside the human ship, Commander Chun stood at her console. They're targeting us, Ramos said. Let them, Chun replied. The moment the hegemony's main weapon fired, the Terran ship moved. Not with speed. Not with light. With space itself. Sensors on the judgment spear screamed. The beam bent. The target was gone. Not cloaked, not moved. Just skipped. The next second, the human ship was above them. Then behind. Then directly in front. The Terran ship wasn't flying. It was sliding through folded space like a needle through fabric. Wheeler shouted, Track it! We can't! It's phasing. Jumping without charge time. Then the Terran ship released a pulse. No explosion, no blast. Just a push. The judgment spear began to tilt. Giant engines groaned as the ship slowly turned against its will. Lights dimmed. Gravity flickered. The crew fell over themselves. The pulse was targeted at the ship's own artificial gravity field. It had been hacked. Not jammed, rewritten. We've lost internal control, someone yelled. Stabilize the core. We can't. It's overriding everything. The screen flickered again. A new message appeared. This was restraint. If you fire again, we will not repeat it. Wheeler stared at the words, and for the first time he hesitated. They could have destroyed us, he whispered, but they didn't. He gave the order no hegemony commander had ever spoken in his presence. Stand down. And just like that, the dreadnought powered down its weapons. Inside the forge, Commander Chun watched the readings and said nothing. There was no cheer, no celebration, just silence. They're scared now, Ramos said. Chun shook her head. No, they're learning. That's more dangerous. Across the galaxy, ships changed course. Patrols turned away from Terran space. Traders whispered of a shadow fleet hidden in impossible places. Refugees in slave systems began to hope. And on a dozen forgotten worlds, people asked one question. Who are the Terrans? The answer was coming, and the galaxy would never forget it. In a dark room deep beneath the surface of Andari Prime, the oldest surviving records were unlocked. Hegemony historians sat in stunned silence as images flickered across the wall. Old scans, blurry photos, corrupted files. Some showed humans in ancient suits walking on dead worlds. Others showed ships made of metal, not crystal. Primitive engines, yes, but there was something else in their eyes. Something the hegemony had not seen in a very long time. Defiance. These Terrans, one scholar said. They've been here before. A long time ago. Then where did they go? Asked another. No one had an answer. Across the galaxy, questions piled up faster than the hegemony could control them. How had the humans survived in the dead zones? How had they built such technology in silence? Why had they returned now? But the biggest question was this. If humans were this powerful now, what would they become next? Back in the forge, Commander Chun stood before a group of alien leaders. Tall insectoids from the ruined Zephyrian colonies. Crystal-bodied survivors of fallen Kathari cities. Even aquatic Nereans floated in pressurized tanks, watching through intelligent black eyes. None of them had weapons. They had come willingly. You've all lost something, Chun said. Homes, families, freedom. No one spoke. She stepped forward. We know what that feels like. The Terran people. We've known it longer than anyone. One Zephyrian leader clicked his mandibles. Why help us now? Why show yourselves? Chun looked at them one by one. Because you matter. Because no one stood for us when we needed help. We won't make the same mistake. A soft hum filled the room as a large display activated. It showed a map of the galaxy. Dots of light marked hegemony-controlled sectors. Others showed recently freed systems. But a third color began spreading, worlds not taken by war, but welcomed. A growing line of Terran allies. Former slave species. Forgotten colonies. Worlds too small to matter to the Crystal Empire but important enough for humans to notice. We're building something new, Chun said. A place where no species rules over another. Where no one is born into chains. The room was quiet. Then, one by one, the leaders nodded. Not out of fear, but hope. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Terran fleet continued its quiet campaign. Not with invasions but by simply showing up. They brought food to starving colonies. Repaired broken satellites. Helped locals defend themselves with advanced shields and gravity weapons. They never asked for tribute. They never demanded obedience. They just said one thing: you don't have to live in fear anymore. That message spread like wildfire. In mining outposts where workers labored under cruel hegemony whips, revolts began. Not violent uprisings, just a refusal to keep digging. On trade hubs, Narian operators shut down supply routes to hegemony war zones, saying simply, "We're done." Even within hegemony territory, cracks began to form. Captains refused orders. Soldiers turned off their weapons. Some even defected, bringing stolen plans and secret data to the Terrans. Back on Andari Prime, the Council scrambled to contain the growing rebellion. "We must strike back," roared one member. "Show the galaxy that weakness leads to ruin." But Elrian, the Supreme Counselor, stood up. "We've ruled by fear for 3,000 years, he said. And now that fear is breaking." He turned slowly, looking at the galaxy-wide map projected before them. So many lights, so many worlds no longer loyal. The Terrans didn't conquer these people. They gave them a choice, and they chose freedom. The other counselors didn't know what to say, because they knew he was right. In the Forge, Chun received a new report. Another hegemony fleet had approached a border colony, but they didn't attack. Instead, they sent a message: "We wish to speak." Chun stared at the message for a long time. Then finally she nodded. "Let's listen." Because this wasn't just about humans anymore. It was about something bigger. A galaxy learning that fear could be replaced with something stronger. Hope. Commander Elise Chun stood on the command deck of the Forge's lead cruiser, Resolution, watching the stars slide past the wide-view screen. Her crew moved quietly, focused, their faces lit by soft blue lights. She could feel the tension in the air. Not fear, but something heavier. Expectation. They were headed toward a system called Verdanis, a mining world recently abandoned by the hegemony. The locals had overthrown their overseers and sent a distress call, unsure how long they could hold. Hegemony reinforcements were already on the way. Chun had decided to go herself. The Forge fleet would arrive first. "ETA to Verdanis?" she asked. 3 hours, replied Lieutenant Ramos. 2 hegemony cruisers already in system. No signs of engagement yet. Locals are hiding underground. Chun nodded. "They're waiting for us to make the first move. They always do." The screen zoomed in on the distant system. 2 sleek crystal ships glowed like blades in the dark. Deadly fast, proud. For generations, those ships had meant only one thing to most species: obey or burn. But now the rules were changing. A soft chime echoed across the bridge. "Incoming transmission," said the comms officer. "Hegemony vessel Veil of Judgment is hailing us. Put it through." The screen shifted. A tall Andari captain stood with arms behind his back. His skin shimmered silver blue, and his expression was unreadable. "I am Captain Urith of the Hegemony," he said. "This system is under hegemony law. You are ordered to withdraw." Chun leaned forward, calm, unshaken. "Captain Urith, I'm Commander Elise Chun of the Forge. The people of Verdanis have declared independence. We were asked to protect them. We won't leave. Urith tilted his head slightly. You believe one rebel colony matters? Chin didn't blink. Every world matters. Urith's eyes narrowed. You risk war. We're not the ones who arrived armed, ready to attack civilians. He said nothing for a long moment. Then the transmission ended. Fleet is moving, Ramos said. They're advancing. Weapons hot. Chin stood. Activate the shield grid. Bring us forward slowly. No weapons. Just presence. The Forge cruisers moved into formation, silent, dark metal shapes forming a protective ring around the planet. Dozens of refugee vessels flew beneath them, taking position. Not a military force, but a wall. A wall saying, no further. In orbit, the two hegemony ships paused. On the bridge of the Veil of Judgment, Captain Urith watched his screen. They're not even pointing weapons at us, he said. No, his lieutenant replied. But they're not running either. Urith tapped his fingers on the edge of his command station. They want us to fire first. And if we do? Urith remembered the reports. The silent judgment gone. The judgment spear disabled without a scratch on the enemy. That terrifying black triangle ship. The human gravity weapons. He stared at the screen again. They're forcing us to think, he muttered. For the first time in centuries. The lieutenant said nothing. Back on the Resolution, Chun watched the enemy fleet hold position. They're hesitating, Ramos said. You think they'll back off? I don't know, Chin said. But they're learning. Slowly. Just then, another chime. The hegemony was hailing again. Urith appeared on screen, this time with a different look in his eyes. Not pride. Not anger. Caution. We will withdraw from Verdanis, he said. Temporarily. Chun gave a slow nod. Good. I hope this is the beginning of something better. Urith gave a slight bow. We'll see. The screen went black. Ramos stared. Did that just happen? Yes, Chin said. It did. Around the bridge, a quiet wave of breath spread. Small smiles. A bit of relief. But no cheers. They all knew this wasn't the end. It was the start of a bigger storm. Across the galaxy, word of the standoff spread quickly. The colony stood free. No shots fired. No blood spilled. Just resolve. More systems reached out to the Forge. More asked for protection. Not conquest. Not control. Just help. And the humans answered. The Terran fleet began to move across the stars, not to rule, but to stand. To say one thing over and over, you don't have to bow anymore. You're not alone. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy began to believe it. The Forge's message echoed across the stars. Simple, clear, stand, together, free. And species that had never dared to speak suddenly found their voices. On the jungle world of Alaris, the scaled Varani workers tore down the banners of the hegemony and raised their own flag. One stitched from old clothes, bright flowers, and hope. On a frozen mining station above Graal 9, the insectoid miners stopped their drills, powered down their machines, and sent a message into deep space. We wish to join. And on Andari Prime, the heart of the hegemony, whispers turned to movement. In back halls and service corridors, the lower caste workers passed data chips hand to hand, each one containing the same hidden broadcast. A recording of a human voice saying, "Freedom is not given. It's claimed." Inside the Forge, Commander Elise Chun watched it all unfold on the main display. Systems blinking, worlds lighting up, messages pouring in. Her team worked without pause, responding, coordinating, helping. But Chun stood still. She was thinking. It had started with a warning. Now it was becoming a wave. Lieutenant Ramos stepped up beside her. Reports just came in from Sector 19. The hegemony fleet there abandoned their posts. No resistance. No fight. Chun raised an eyebrow. Why? They said. They didn't want to be on the wrong side of history. Chun smiled slightly. A new alert chimed. This one was different. Priority signal, the comms officer said. Encrypted. From Hegemony Command. Supreme Counselor Elrian. The bridge went silent. Put him through. The screen came alive. Elrian appeared, seated in a dark council chamber. He looked older, tired. The shimmer in his skin was faint, his eyes sharp as ever. "Commander Chun," he said, "you've changed everything." Chun gave a polite nod. "We didn't set out to, but the galaxy was ready." He looked down for a moment, then back up. "I've spent my life maintaining control. I believed in order, in strength. But I see now, fear only works until someone dares to stop being afraid." There was a long pause. "What do you want?" he asked. Chin didn't speak right away. She turned and looked at her crew, at the other ships beyond their windows, at the messages coming in from every corner of space. Then she answered, "We want peace, real peace, not silence forced by weapons. We want every species to have the right to live, to speak, to choose. We don't want your empire. We just want it to stop hurting people." Elrian sat back in his chair. "And if we say no?" Chun met his eyes. "Then we'll stop you. But if you say yes, you'll survive. Maybe even rebuild something better." He was quiet for a long time. Then, softly, "What happens now? You step down. The council disbands. The hegemony ends. Not by war, but by choice." Another pause, and then he nodded. "I'll speak to the others," he said. The transmission ended. Across the forge bridge, no one spoke. "Not yet." Then Ramos whispered, "Did we just win?" Chun shook her head. "No, we just opened the door." That day, something no one believed possible happened. The hegemony surrendered. Not with fanfare or ceremony. Not with fireworks or banners. But with quiet signatures, final messages, and orders for fleets to stand down. 1,000 worlds began to breathe for the first time. The Terran Alliance, as it came to be called, didn't take over. Instead, it helped. It sent food, medicine, engineers, and teachers. Trained defenders, not conquerors. It listened. The galaxy shifted, not all at once, not perfectly. There were still problems, conflicts, old wounds. But the balance had changed. Because one forgotten people had dared to say no. And meant it. Years later, in a classroom on a rebuilt world once ruled by the hegemony, a child raised a hand. "Teacher?" they asked. "Is it true the humans came from nowhere?" The teacher smiled. "No, they came from everywhere no one else dared to go. And they came back when the galaxy needed them most." "But why?" the child asked. The teacher thought for a moment, then answered, "Because sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones with the biggest ships, but the ones who remember what it feels like to lose everything, and choose to fight so no one else has to." Outside the window, a ship passed overhead. Black hull. Sharp lines. A symbol of the forge glowed softly on its side. Not a threat. Not a weapon. Promise. And in the stars above, the galaxy was no longer silent. It was free.